I'm trying to cover up something I don't like on the wall. Okay. So, want to talk about life? Let's talk about life. Okay, let's talk about life a little bit. Want to talk about life a little bit? Let's talk about life a little bit. Peace and love. Welcome back to the palace. I'm chilling over here to cover up this one spot that is like definitely not finished in the van. A work in progress, much like we all are, physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically, so it's okay. But I just recorded a video before this one, updating on what's been going on in my life with the van, with traveling, with purpose, with everything. And I was already in the flow, so I knew I wanted to just continue recording and speaking on something else that Spirit wanted me to talk about like a month ago that I have not. So I'm learning to listen and do these things because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing it now. Thank you, Spirit. I'm listening. So they're kind of telling me to hold a crystal, but I don't think I have a crystal. Give me 1 second. You're going to see what I was trying to hide, but it's okay. Crystal. They're all in this bag in the back. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Here we go. So, thank you for clicking on this video, for sticking along thus far, for not already clicking away, and caring enough to hear, being interested enough or called enough to hear what I have to say in this moment, despite, not editing this one, okay, not editing and cutting things out and, renewing the attention span every 3 seconds by clipping out sections in between. I appreciate that. It does make a difference. So, if you'd like to take a nice deep inhale and exhale with me to enter into this container with me specifically, you can do that. Take a nice deep inhale in. Exhale, let it all go. Okay. So, my partner and I, Dusty Bun, Dustin, went on a trip to Massachusetts early September. Yeah, it was right before Maven. It was right before the autumnal equinox, so mid-September. We were going up there with the intentions to go see an artist I really like named Tamino. And that was like the main reason for us going up there. And I was super excited. I wanted to see him perform live. I had been supporting him for years. He was a major component to me living out of my car and traveling and knowing I could do it and like getting so many downloads from his music. So I really wanted to go. So we did. The show sold out while we were in line. Funny story. The show sold out while we were in line, and I just couldn't help but be like, okay, Spirit, let's talk. Let's talk about this. And I remember I was driving on the way back because right after that, we still had a great time. I still had a great time going in the van for a baby trip with Dustin because he had never done anything in the van before. So we went. We started heading back. And he was laying in the back and I was sitting in the front. I started praying to my guides, asking them to speak to me and through me and letting me know what was going on. Like, I was like, okay, well, I know everything happens for a reason. So let's sit with what perhaps the reason could be. And so it was like, okay, well, if we weren't supposed to see him in Massachusetts, then where were we supposed to see him? And then literally, I S you not, I saw Travel 2 on one sign. And then I saw Austin on another car, and then I looked over here, Texas, on another license plate, and then looked at another sign that said in 2 weeks. Travel to Austin, Texas in 2 weeks. And then I looked, and then I think in 2 weeks was Austin City Limits, where Tamino was also going to be performing. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was wondering, I was asking why Austin? And watch my last video, a lot occurred in Austin. A lot has occurred in Austin, or if you follow me on Instagram, I recommend that as well. I was sharing a lot about Austin. There was a lot there for Dustin as far as healing timelines within his past lives, his current lives as well. that led us specifically to Austin, but we were going to go to Austin city limits with the intention to see Tamino, and then that didn't work out either. Make a plan to watch God laugh, but then making a plan when he got invited to go see the Christspiracy documentary that's being released soon. That created a new trip for us, and then we made that our goal. And so we're traveling to Virginia, coming back from Massachusetts. I'm sitting with all these little downloads. I'm like, okay, so we're going to go to Austin, Texas. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And the main point of this video, I'm finally getting to it. Sorry, I had to mention that for some reason. Well, I had to mention it. Okay, they're telling me now. I'm mentioning this to you because a lot of times when things go wrong or we don't understand, well, I was guided or I wanted to do this, I drove all the way here and then this happened, why would that happen? And then some people just, kind of, because for me, even personally in that experience, I felt defeated for a moment. I was kind of sad and when you're a little kid and you're looking forward to something and then it doesn't happen, and it's in those movies the kids get so sad and you're oh, but something in me knew that I didn't want to sit in that. I was yeah, I could sit here and be sad that we didn't get to, but I know there's something deeper here. So I think what Spirit wants me to say is a lot of reasons that those things happen is so that we can sit with Spirit and ask for guidance and ask for clarity and pray to our guides, whether it be angels, ascended masters, galactic ancestors, actual ancestral family members from your DNA line here on Earth, so that you can create a better connection to your spirit guides, connection to yourself, and to the deeper understanding of why things occur, which is what happened for me. If I had just sat defeated with oh man, we didn't get to see the show, everything's horrible, my life is this, I never blah blah blah, that just sends out so much, it just radiates such negativity out of your vessel. Who wants to be around that? So to me, I sat with it for maybe 10, 15 seconds, and I was well, that's not going to help me or serve anybody, so let me use something from this. Let me utilize this experience. And so I did. And in doing so, it led us to the idea of Austin, Texas. It led us to even beginning to prepare and plan for that, and then led to him being invited to California, which led to a larger trip, which led to saving more money, which, if you listen to the last video, we're still technically in Texas right now. We haven't made it all the way, so you can subscribe to support us in getting to California. And even in sitting in the Texas area, so much has occurred, so many downloads, and so many things that didn't happen that we planned to or wanted to, led to other things that have still provided a lot of gratitude, a lot of understanding, a lot of wisdom, a lot of peace, really, actually, surprisingly. And so I was getting all of these little insights after asking Spirit those things, which I find very important to do. Even journaling, I go back to my journal and read things that I experienced. And so one of the last, and it's going to be a side note to this video, one of the last things that I sat with that kind of went in alignment with this whole experience that I had, being going to do something, it not happening, and being kind of disappointed, but then trying to still gain the fruit from it, was after we left out of the Boston area and started driving on the highway. I was still speaking with Spirit, I was still praying, and I was looking at something. I was looking at a sign. It was something about Corona. Oh, okay. So I was driving on the highway, and there was a certain amount of cars on the road, a certain amount of traffic. I was thinking about the rest stops, and there would be people who leave reviews during Corona times, and I'm trying to find the core of it, because I was supposed to share this a while ago and I didn't even write it down, so this is something I'm digging. I'm finding it as we're talking about it. But I was thinking about how Corona really did mark a difference in time for many of us that I think a lot of us have forgotten. That's what it was. Thank you, Spirit. So something I was noticing was people going into the bathroom, because I was going to a lot of rest stops, I was doing a lot of traveling, so I was entering restrooms with other people, not just restrooming in a house, and noticing people just going right back to not washing their hands, to just being kind of uncleanly with their temple. And I was sitting with that, and I was So, did we learn anything from this corona, from, this experience at all? Or have we already gone back into that lower, like, just kind of numbed out zombie mode? And so, as I was thinking about that, because I was thinking about that with the bathrooms, and I was thinking about the amount of traffic on the highway, and, like, people just going right back into that 9 to 5, like, I was like, things don't really seem that different anymore. I wasn't living on the road when Corona happened, and so I wasn't really a part of, like, the frenzy. I was on the outskirts of it, which I was grateful for, because I wouldn't have been down for it anyway. I wasn't really feeding into that frequency. But I considered that to be a large moment in time, because the Corona epidemic was perfectly paired with the Saturn and Pluto conjunction, which is like a conjunction that won't happen again in our lifetimes. Saturn and Pluto being the perfect two components to break down old paradigms, the perfect opportunity to dismantle that is not healthy, that is constricting, that is controlling, which is the government. Government means mind control, if you break it down into its basic Latin form. But sitting with that and being like, to me, before Christ, after Christ, like things that, like how life was like before people knew of Christ, and then how people thought of life after Christ, to think of Corona as that same experience is what I was sitting with. Before Corona, literally the same C, BCAC, before Corona, after Corona. And I was sitting with that, and I was like, so yeah, before Corona, what was your life like? Before Corona, what were you doing? What was your life looking like? Who were the people in your life? What job did you have? What habits did you use? What kind of, person were you being? What thoughts did you have? What food did you eat? How did you take care of your temple? And then when Corona happened, what happened after? What were you doing after? Who were you around after? What job did you have after? Did anything change? Now, what's interesting is there should be a difference between before Corona and after Corona, but I feel like people are kind of falling back into their before Corona beingness. And this was the Corona Saturn-Pluto conjunction time was supposed to be an opportunity for us to like really cut off 3D low vibrational timeline and enter into something beautiful, something new. During Corona, that was the time when people weren't littering in like nature, they weren't littering in rivers, they weren't littering anywhere because they couldn't go anywhere to litter. So they had to learn how to clean up after themselves and pick up their own trash and do their own dirty work externally and internally. Waters had been cleaner than they had ever been. Springs were clear. Otters were swimming in rivers that they'd never swum in because they felt it was clean to do so, safe to do so. No chlorine, no toxins, no plastic, no paper, no chemicals. It was an opportunity for us to like sit in a space with ourselves and look at our lives and be like, do I like this? Do I like, let me take this pause. Let me take this break and decide. But people are too busy feeding into the social media, feeding into the frenzy, feeding into the fear, which is all fear is evidence appearing real. Isn't that what it is? False evidence appearing real is fear. Like you haven't really seen it touch you, and then if you see it and then you feed into it, then it'll touch you. But if you see it and don't feed into it, then you're protected and divinely, always sovereignly sacred. So I was sitting with that. I was like, I wonder how many people have gone, they were washing their hands. It's trying to stay so clean. And then have gone right back into not washing their hands again. And that is a conscious choice. And that's the big thing about times like this, before Corona, after Corona, stuff like that, is to choose, okay, I'm getting this opportunity to do things differently. I have to keep checking in with myself, my human body that's been programmed to do things over and over until I reprogram it well enough to not do those things anymore. And to check in with yourself and say, did I fall off washing my hands? Am I going back into like a 9 to 5 3D matrix? Am I hanging out with the same people? Am I doing the same things? Have I taken that opportunity to change anything I wanted to? And maybe you didn't want to change anything. And if you didn't want to change anything, then great. But if you did, and then you find yourself going back into those things, then don't be like, oh, well, I failed. Oops, whoop, sorry, 3D. Be like, oh, okay, cool, and go right back into it. It doesn't have to be something that we sit at and stare at and be like, oh, there's water on the ground. Oh, you can clean it up and just keep going and keep flowing and growing And that was something that just came in like really quickly while I was traveling on the way back from Massachusetts. And I was sitting with that within myself. Like, okay, before Corona, what was I doing? And I was working at a crystal shop, which I loved, but I was like still working in a sense that didn't feel right to me, like enclosed in an environment. Recently, I watched The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and they said gypsies don't do well behind stone walls, and I definitely feel very gypsy-like. I connected to Esmeralda. I felt connected to Esmeralda as a child. I apparently loved the movie as a child, and so watching it again as an adult really assisted me in finding some of that truth that I had forgotten, especially being programmed to 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. This is what I want. And it's not what most of us want. Some people want it. And that's okay. Let them want it. Do you want it? Don't worry about anybody else. Do you want it? And so that's what I sat with myself about. Do I want it? Do I want a 9 to 5? Do I want a Monday to Friday? No. I want to flow and move as I feel I'm called to. I want to share when I feel the insight. I want to share when I feel driven to. I want to sleep when I feel sleepy. I want to eat when I feel hungry. I want to honor my body's natural calls and cues. So the things I did before Corona and the things I did after were almost everything that I was looking for. And the things that weren't were going to continue to keep coming up for me until I learned them. And that was something that I learned as well. Like, oh, you're going to keep getting provided these experiences. No matter if you try to avoid them, we're just going to present them to you through new people. And so for me, that was like learning how to assert what I wanted, how I wanted to live, where I wanted to live, what I wanted to do, and not let other people decide that for me or decide what I want to do with my life because of people around me. And still understand that no matter what, with a partner, with a husband, boyfriend, friends, family, pets, me as a human sent down here, I was sent on a mission, and I can complete that mission within myself. I don't need anyone else to push me to do it. I don't need anyone else to tell me to do it. I have to tell myself to do it. And I can receive support. I can receive assistance if people want to, but I don't have to wait on anyone else to begin. So, yeah, before Corona, after Corona, sit with that. See if there's anything you're still doing then, before then, that changed after, and you liked the change, and then you somehow slowly started going back into it. Is basically what I want to say. So I've said it. So yes, stay with that. Stay with me with that, if you will, because it's very important. Like the humans that are here now, the humans that I'm speaking to, you that I'm speaking to, we have to reprogram. It's up to us. We're going to be the structured container for the youth that's coming in. Like all the little star seeds that are coming in, kind of already addicted to the phone, being told different things about themselves to confuse themselves. All this stuff is purposely done to continue to try and just like control the mental state of themselves instead of allowing them to connect to their bodies and understand, oh, I'm a star being in an earth body. Let me not connect to this mental mind matrix. Let me connect to my body and my core. Understand what I'm here to do, because a lot of the youth has come in as starseed specifically based on their Pluto and Sagittarius generation. A lot of them have come in that way, and then the Pluto and Capricorn generation. This is a side note. The Pluto and Sagittarius generation seems ready to be a change, to be a difference. They have their own things to work on, as we all do. Pluto and Capricorn seems fully prepared, but they're getting like hardcore trying, like the attempts to control them through media. You already know the deal, because I've even looked at things that I watched as a child. I've been like, well, that what? Like the song by Ashley Tisdale that they played on Disney Channel was definitely not a Disney Channel friendly music video or song, but I digress. So us as I guess I'm speaking on the Pluto and Scorpio generation in a way. We're the ones that are supposed to help dismantle anyway. That's what Scorpio energy does. It transmutes, it shows the truth, it reveals, it takes the things from down under and lifts them up so that we can allow people to see what's real and what's not. So that we can be like, nah, not aligned, nah, and stay centered and be that container that has chosen, I don't want to live that way. I'm going to live this way. And then the youth sees us doing that, and then they're like, oh, I can do that. Even my sister, who's 14, her boyfriend knows me and my partner are doing this, and we've been working on it. And he said, that'd be cool. I'd like to do that before school. Like, he still desires to get an education. There's nothing wrong with that. But he also thought it'd be cool to try it. And even that, to me, is a success. and just inspiring someone to try something new. So, yeah, kind of getting on tangents, so I'm going to close it here. Thank you for sitting with me and sharing in this little download that Spirit gave me. I trust you're receiving it. Trust you're integrating it. I trust you're going to embody and apply it to your own life. And as always, until next time, I'm sending you peace and aloha.